Guys, I have a problem. The Bureau of People Who Care About My Opinion sent me an official order to name my favorite Zelda game, and I just don't know the answer.
When it comes to deciding on my favorite Zelda game, I've always seemed to be conflicted. For the longest time, I've always said it was Majora's Mask. I love how dark, creepy, weird, and just how different it is from the rest of the series. For the majority of my life, when people ask me what my favorite Zelda game was, that's the one I pointed to. But in retrospect, the most enjoyable part of that game is the side quests. While that's certainly not a bad thing, the problem is that I found the main quest to be very unengaging at times. The dungeons weren't very fun to me compared to the other entries in the series, and not to mention there weren't that many of them. The bulk of Majora's Mask is in its side quests and its backtracking in the form of going back in time in a 3-day cycle, so if that kind of gameplay isn't really your thing, I'd recommend skipping out on it. I then thought for a while that my favorite Zelda game could be Wind Waker. I absolutely love the art style, something which was very unpopular back in 2003 but is more cherished nowadays. I think the combat is very fluid and almost addicting, and I think the dungeons in the game are some of the best dungeons in the series. I also love the theme of exploring the seas. That's something that always seemed cool to me, especially as a kid. Ocarina is one that's up there for sure, but for some reason I've always hesitated to call it my favorite. Even though it was my very first Zelda game, I think it boils down to me not having many childlike experiences with the game. When I played it as a kid, I often got stuck in the earlier dungeons because, well, I was bad. I didn't actually beat Ocarina until much later in my adolescence. And then there's Breath of the Wild. I love this game. I really do. But like Ocarina, I hesitate to call it my favorite. I think the reason for that is to me it doesn't feel like a Zelda game. It feels like a phenomenal open world game, but it doesn't feel like a Zelda game. When I get an itch to play a game in the series, Breath of the Wild usually isn't the one I run to.
There's gotta be a way for me to decide what my favorite Zelda game is.
Introducing the Tales of... I hit my fucking desk. That was gonna be a good take. Introducing the Tales of Hyrule, my first ever video series. In this series, I'll be playing through every mainline Zelda game, giving a full review on each one. And after that's done, I'm gonna be making a definitive ranking list for all the games in the series.
You see, I've always considered myself a huge Zelda fan, one of the biggest. If you don't believe me, just see the amount of Zelda games I've played.
I've only played these Zelda games to completion, which leaves all of these.
So it seems I have my work cut out for me, but it should be no sweat. I mean, the entire Zelda series can't be that long.